While speaking today at the 80th anniversary of D-Day, President Biden removed his aviator sunglasses and said, quote, Hitler and those with him thought democracies were weak. Oh, man, you know he's mad when he takes off his shades. I would not want to be Hitler right now.
They are hilarious, those late-night TV people. I never miss an episode because the hilarity is nonstop. And he took off his shades. I think the Biden family I think they're getting paid by Ray-Ban, don't you think? They all wear the same. It's all Ray-Bans, and I'm guessing they're getting paid somewhere. It's the only thing that makes sense. And Joe Biden, he's got his Ray-Ban aviators he wears all the time. Presidents of the United States historically do not wear sunglasses. You look like a third world banana republic dictator. Oh, wait, now it all makes sense. Now the pieces all come together. Now I see. I'm still looking for a paycheck there, too. Well, happy Friday to you and welcome. You know, Jill Biden, she's not a doctor, and you really don't want her to be your wife. You don't want her to be your wife. I haven't quite gotten into all that yet, but remarkable stuff. She got on, I assume she hopped on one of our 757s, one of our airliners that the U.S. Air Force flies out of Joint Base Andrews outside of Washington, D.C., because she was in Normandy with Joe Biden saying, there's no chair there, there's no chair, there's no chair, don't sit down, there's no chair. And then chairs appeared, but never mind that. The Jill Biden got on a 7, she was there with Joe, trying to make sure he didn't fall off the stage, and now who knows what she's doing, but don't ask the Secret Service. And so she hopped on one of our airliners, Air Force, and she's come back here so she can sit in the courtroom with her beloved Hunter Biden, who's not really beloved at all. You can tell by the body language every time they're together. But she is in the courtroom with her Secret Service detail and shows up in her motorcade. And Ashley Biden, who the daughter who doesn't want to shower with her dad anymore, as far as we know, doesn't want to shower with her father anymore being the keywords. But Dr. Jen with her Secret Service detail and Hunter Biden with his Secret Service detail, and at least one of the jurors is a former Secret Service woman whose husband is also Secret Service, but pay no attention to that. All in the courtroom. The courtroom is bristling with firearms, isn't it? With guns. And it's kind of ironic since it's a gun trial, and one of the guns in the room is Hunter Biden's Colt Cobra, a 38 special, right? And remarkable stuff. But Jill hopped on one of our airliners and flew back from Normandy, France, to sit in the courtroom with Hunter. And then she's going to get back on one of her 757s and fly back to France for a state dinner with Emmanuel Macron. Macron and fromage. He's the macaroni and cheese of French presidents. And remarkable stuff, remarkable. So, and you know what that does to the environment? Because I don't even think she's on a Gulfstream 5 or a Gulfstream 6 like John Kerry uses when he flies around his wife's plane. She's not great to look at, that wife of his current wife. But, you know, she's got a lot of toys, a lot of stuff. Got the jets and the mansions and the oceanfront stuff. And I'm sure they have boats. Oh, yeah, he got that yacht. Remember the yacht? He parked the yacht in the state next door so he didn't have to pay Massachusetts taxes. Remember that? The yacht, the jet. And then he complains that other people drive cars because they're destroying the environment and the planet. Remarkable stuff. And Dr. Jill hopping on an Air Force plane, coming home from France to sit in the courtroom, which is jury intimidation and judge intimidation, especially in Delaware. And that's all fine. And then she's going to fly back for dinner with Emmanuel Macron. And who knows what might happen along the way. But never mind all that. So we got that going for us. Also, it is an amazing thing, the news media, what they do. First of all, the laptop is back in the news, as though we didn't all know that it was Hunter Biden's laptop, and now we've got to play another game of make-believe and pretend that everybody didn't know that it was Hunter Biden's laptop all along. With the videos of Hunter Biden naked with hookers and the Who else's laptop could it be? And the pictures of Hunter Biden smoking crack and passing out in bathtubs, and Hunter Biden with the Russian prostitute, and Hunter Biden with, and Hunter Biden with, and then the emails, and everybody involved, Tony Bobulinski comes out and says, oh yeah, that's Joe Biden is big guy who gets 10%. He gets a 10% cut. And the news media is still, no, it's Rudy Giuliani is a communist agent working with Vladimir Putin and the Russians, and they created a fake laptop, and millions of Americans believed this because millions of Americans were told this again and again. They were told this on late night TV by the likes of Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. They were told this on The View. They were told this on Saturday Night Live. They were told this everywhere you went. Oh, yeah, the laptop is a fake, those Russians and the Republicans, because that makes sense. Not the left in the United States, the Democrat Party, and the commies, Putin. And speaking of which, Joe Biden yesterday said that he's known Vladimir Putin for more than 40 years. For more than 40 years, that's what he said. They're old pals, Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. They've been hanging out since. And anybody can look this up, but ABC News doesn't, and ABC News didn't, even though he was doing the interview with ABC News and that pixie dandy boy, David Muir. And I've been hanging out with Putin for more than 40 years, which brings us back to 1984. 1984, he's been hanging out. I think that was his second term in the Senate, Joe Biden. And he said he's known Putin for more than 40 years, for more than 4 decades. It turns out that Vlad the Impaler Putin 40 years ago was a KGB agent, of course, but he was undercover. He was deep undercover in East Germany, in Dresden and East Berlin. And Vlad the Impaler Putin, the KGB agent 40 years ago and more, apparently was palling around with Joe Biden. What was Joe Biden doing palling around with Vladimir Putin more than 40 years ago? That's completely nuts. How does that make sense? But he said that, and David Muir didn't raise an eyebrow at ABC News. Nobody said, oh, really? He's been hanging out with Putin since Putin was a deep cover KGB operative?
Does Vladimir Putin concern you?
I've known him for over 40 years. He's concerned me for 40 years.
What a lion's
He's not
sack
a
of
decent
Joanne.
man. He's a dictator.
Yeah, you're. Remember when Barack Obama was a dictator? Remember that MSNBC thing? I don't think I can tell that joke anymore. Who is it? Halperin, right? Mark Halperin on Morning Joke said that Barack Obama was being a male appendage, and a man's name. Said he was being, and it said, wow, yeah, right? And does you remember this? And then there was, what do you get when you cross Barack Obama and a potato? And it was a dictator, because that's what you get. That was another joke and another time. Completely crazy. Also, the Washington. So there's a lot of mop up to do, and somebody put together a really wonderful 20-minute long video of a montage of the news media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, again and again and again, lying their scabrous rumpies off that the laptop was clearly Russian disinformation. Intelligence officials, John Brennan, who's the Communist Party voter, John Brennan, that Barack Obama mentored by a Communist Party member. Barack Obama made the CIA director, and then that CIA director who voted for Gus Hall, the Communist Party candidate for president, John Brennan, penitentiary face as he's known, he was one of the people spearheading, along with our current Secretary of State, this big lie, the Felonious 51, the big lie letter. Oh yeah, this Hunter Biden laptop has all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. The Russian disinformation was coming from our own intelligence community, who might as well be communist agents as CIA director and delete might as well be. Honestly, if you're a Communist Party voter, you become CIA director. Okay, all right, let's let that slide until you launch an information operation against the American people and corrupt our presidential election so that the lefty wins and the pro-American guy loses. And there are no handcuffs. There are no pre-dawn raids. There are no frog marches. Peter Navarro is sitting in prison right now. And Steve Bannon is on his way to prison, they announced yesterday. And they're trying to put Donald Trump in prison because, ungala bungala, because we're a third world country. The left is here, and they will jail all of their political enemies. So once again, we've got to, because the laptop is the centerpiece of evidence in the Hunter Biden trial in Delaware being used by the alleged Justice Department, the Injustice Department, the opposite of Justice Department. And it's the centerpiece of evidence. The FBI had it a year before we knew the FBI had it. And they let everybody, the FBI, another stain on their wretched soul. And they let everybody go around saying, oh, yeah, it's Russian disinformation, when the FBI knew that it was Hunter Biden's laptop for a year. And they lie by omission. They lie by commission. They lie. They lie when they're sitting by themselves in their car at a red light. They lie when they lay their heads down on the pillow at night. These are liars. Oh, speaking of liars, and this is a pretty wild one, I've got to say. And my friend Barry sent me this morning. I think it's a Washington Post. They tweeted out on X. It is a Washington Post headline, and the headline reads, "For decades, Catholic leaders abused Native American children at government-enforced boarding schools, a Post investigation found." And there's a giant color picture of Donald Trump. A giant color picture of Donald Trump. Now, Donald Trump has absolutely nothing to do with the story, but it's a negative story about the Catholic Church, which they like very much. And by the way, every adult man that molests a little boy is a gay adult man that molests little boys. Since it's Pride Month, I wanted to bring that up. Oh, yeah, last night also at the Nationals game in Washington, D.C., Major League Baseball, it's Gay Pride Month, as you may have heard something about that. And also yesterday was the 80th anniversary of D-Day, the Normandy invasion. That's why Joe Biden was there stumbling around in France, and his wife. We won't even get into that. But at the Nationals Park last night, the baseball game, they had, I think it was the D.C. Gay Men's Choir come out to sing the national anthem because it's Pride Month and they're gay pride flags all over the stadium and stuff. But not a single mention of the 80th anniversary of D-Day, of the Normandy invasion. Even, their boy Joe Biden is there trying not to fall off the stage. Not a mention of the 80th anniversary of Normandy at the baseball stadium. But the left, you see, they own everything, and they're poison, they're toxic. Just like the Washington Post putting out this picture of Donald Trump. "In the name of God," is the sub-headline. "Native American children endured years of sexual abuse at boarding schools." Well, that is horrible, and everybody ought to be held accountable and to the full extent of the law. But why is there a giant color picture of Donald Trump as the photo for that story? And the answer is, there is a simple one-word answer. Hate. Hate. Hate is the correct answer. Remarkable. You're a Democrat party. They're Democrats, and they hate. It's what they do. It's the one thing, well, they destroy. It's not the only thing they do. They destroy, they carjack, they loot, they shoot, they murder. They're the Democrats. They're trying to get the vote to every incarcerated person in America because they know that's an untapped vein of Democrat votes. That's the reason. So let me go to my big stories list here because I have my big stories list right in front of me. Jill Biden leaves France to attend Hunter Biden's trial, the New York Times. But in the New York Times version, it's not jury intimidation, and she's not polluting the environment by flying an airliner just for her home from France across the Atlantic Ocean and then back to France on the same, undoubtedly one of the 757s. I've flown on those 757s many times out of Andrews Air Force Base. Not lately, but Jill Biden, a fixture at Hunter Biden's trial, juggles role as first lady and mom. Not really her mom. And I love this one. This is my favorite, the Washington Post. At Hunter Biden's trial, Jill Biden can only watch. Well, I think she likes to watch, doesn't she? That reminds me of of Hunter's laptop because, there's lots to watch on Hunter Biden's laptop, all the videos and the hookers and the crack and the chopping up the powdered cocaine and the strippers and Jill Biden can only watch. She likes to watch. Joe likes to watch, too. Like Chauncey Gardner. Honestly. Hunter Biden laptop re-emerges as media embarrassment as it becomes key evidence at gun trial. Remarkable stuff. President Trump also, he's had a few things to say about this. And I'll remind you some of the lies that the media told us. Hillary Clinton embarrasses herself, which is a difficult thing for her to do. Sick and disgusting D-Day anniversary post. That is coming up. Got an update on the Houthi rebels. Gosh, we've got so much crazy. Thanks to the Democrats. And a Pat Sajak update. Don't get a lot of those. 888-630-9625. And Volodymyr Zelensky showed up at Normandy. You'll never guess why. I mocked yesterday on this subject, and it turns out I was right, even though I was mocking. It's the best way to be right these days. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to Rich, calling from Stafford, Virginia. Rich, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, good morning, Chris. I really appreciate you taking my call. First-time call here, long-time listener. I think you're doing God's work, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. Hey, I just have one observation here. I understand that the First Lady is going to fly back to support her son in the trial. Since that's an unofficial capacity, it really doesn't have to do with anything when it comes to execution of government business. Doesn't she have to pay that out of her own pocket? I mean, that's a personal expense. And, I support the government. I've traveled for them. And if I had to do anything, any part of the trip that was personal, which is allowed, you just have to pay for that out of pocket. So is that going to be the case here, I wonder?
You're wondering rhetorically, of course.
Yeah, there is sarcasm.
Yeah, there must be. You say you've traveled for the government. What does that mean exactly?
No, I'm retired Air Force, and so when I went TDY, I travel in support of the job that I had to do for them.
Right, you might go space available if you can. But otherwise, you got to pay for your own travel, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, if it's personal, if it's a personal thing, nothing really to do with execution mission for your job. I mean,
did you ever have a crackhead criminal stepson that was on trial? See?
No.
See, well, that's the problem you've got right there. If only you had had a crackhead stepson. Okay. Now, yesterday was D-Day, of course, the 80th anniversary of the Normandy invasion, where the United States went into Europe and began the process of smashing the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. Great stuff. And today is D-Day +1. And so I plan to play the audio of Jules Orteg, my father, who art in heaven, as we say. And my older brothers and I always used to, when we were little kids, because our father died when we were little kids. And so Jules Orteg, Navy fighter pilot, doing an interview aboard his aircraft carrier. And the interviewer says D-Day +1. And I'm going to play that audio for you today. It's 3 minutes and 44 seconds long. A great interview, emblematic of the greatest generation. And the Americans, 16.5 million men went to war after Pearl Harbor. Americans went to war after Pearl Harbor. And my father was one of them. And this kind of remarkable interview, I want to play that for you today. And I mentioned that Volodymyr Zelensky, yesterday I was making fun of Volodymyr Zelensky showing up in Normandy, right? And by the way, he was dressed like he was showing up for a backyard barbecue, as he always is. I think he doesn't own a suit. He apparently doesn't own a suit and tie. But he showed up, and he's wandering around. Remarkable stuff. Yesterday, Biden singles out conservatives over Ukraine funding in meeting with Zelensky. Now, listen to this. Yesterday, I was mocking this. We could pull the audio from yesterday's program, but we won't. I'll just tell you what I said, because yesterday I said, oh, Zelensky's there. We were live on the air when we saw on the television that Volodymyr Zelensky was there in Normandy I mocked it and I said, well, for money. And there he was with Tony Blinken. They were shaking hands. They did a little dance. They seemed to be very much in love. And then I said, well, Anthony Blinken, undoubtedly is pushing with his foot a Samsonite piece of luggage under the table with $2 billion in cash in it for Zelensky, because every time Zelensky shows up, he gets $1 billion. Well, I couldn't have been more wrong. I was completely wrong yesterday. Biden says he will sign $225 million aid package to help Ukraine reconstruct its electric grid. The patriarchy gave him the electric grid. And now hang on. So I was completely wrong in that I said $2 billion. And it turns out that Zelensky is showing up, and it's not a terribly long trip for him, but at least he didn't have to come to Washington or anything. He just went to Normandy, France, and he got $225 million of your taxpayer dollars and mine, and your kids are going to be paying it off. The Democrats just throw money around like it's not theirs. Oh, yeah, well, that's because it's not theirs. So he goes to Normandy and he gets $225 million of our dollars because, the military-industrial complex needs the money and in the United States. And they had Tony Blinken told us that quite some time ago that we've gotten different numbers from different administration officials, that some have said 90% of the money we give to Ukraine for war comes back into the coffers they say it comes back to the United States. What they mean is arms contractors who funnel money to the Democrats and the military-industrial complex, right? And others have said it's only 80% of the money that we send to Ukraine comes back to the U.S., and others have said only 70% of the money comes back. So they don't know, they don't care. It's not their money, and they don't care about you. They don't care about human life. Joe Biden also said something yesterday about more than 500,000 people having been killed in the war there and in Ukraine with the Russians. And that's a lowball estimate, I believe. I think there have been about 500,000 Russians killed, plus hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians. And the news media simply does not cover that war. They could care less. They're lefties in the news media, and they don't care about human life at all. Now, the Washington Post does have a phony story on the front page today. They've got Joe Biden in Normandy with Dr. Jill there before she got on the 757, flew home to sit in the courtroom with her crackhead stepson. And the headline next to that is Blackouts in Kiev as grid takes a hammering. Ruthless Russian strikes on power plants force rationing across nation. Now, the only reason that's on the front page is because Joe Biden is coughing up another $225 million. And they're saying it's for the power grid because it costs $225 million to fix the power grid in Kiev, which is not Kyiv. It's not Kyiv. It's not Paris. It's not Makbar or München. It's Kiev. We all speak English here. And they should just count themselves as lucky that they can hang with us. Amazing stuff. Yeah, blackouts in Kiev as grid strikes. And hey, wait a minute. Thankfully, Joe Biden is promising $225 million to get that power grid in Kiev back up. Aren't we generous people? We genuinely are. We're the most giving, kind people. Man, oh man. And Joe Biden, he is, I feel like, Raymond Shaw is the most decent, powerful man I ever met. It's like the Manchurian candidate everywhere you look. Now, Joe Biden is famous for doing a lot of stupid things. And I played the audio a little while ago where he said he's known Vladimir Putin for more than 40 years. 40 years ago, again, Vladimir Putin was not even a senior KGB agent. He was a junior KGB agent. He was assigned to Dresden in Germany, East Germany. And And then he went to East Berlin, naturally, because he was working his way up, killing people and throwing people off of rooftops and things like that, because he's a commie, and that's what commies do. And now the commies are here. But never mind that. Joe Biden is famous for a lot of ridiculous things. And one of the ridiculous things that he is famous for is saying that he saw a John Wayne movie years ago where John Wayne said something about somebody being a lion, dog face, pony soldier. You may remember Joe Biden saying this.
That's the truth. Now, don't make a lie. As that scene in the John Wayne movie, don't make me a dog-faced lion pony soldier.
A dog-faced lion pony soldier. Isn't it a lion dog-faced pony soldier? He gets his own quote wrong. He said this several times about the lion dog-faced pony soldier or the dog-faced lion pony soldier, which he says from a John Wayne movie.
I was a Democratic caucus. You ever
What?
been to a caucus? No, you haven't. You're a lion dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but you're
You're a lion dog-faced pony soldier, and he assured us that this is a John Wayne line from a John Wayne movie. And of course, nobody has been able to find the John Wayne movie where John Wayne or anybody else said this. And I think that the reason for that is that there is no John Wayne movie where somebody said, you're a lion dog-faced pony soldier, but Joe Biden kept saying it.
The Indian looks at John Wayne and points to the Union and says, he's a lion dog-faced pony soldier. Well, there's a lot of lion dog-faced pony soldiers out there about global warming.
It's not so global warming. That was John Wayne talking about global warming to a Native American. Pretty amazing. Turner Classic Movies the other night actually was doing a John Ford series, and they had great John Wayne movies, old black and white westerns, Stagecoach, and what with The Searchers, great stuff. Great John Wayne movies, and there are many great John Wayne movies, and John Ford movies, of course, the director. But never mind that. And I actually watched. I was reading and things, but I had them on in the background. Great stuff, great movies. And see him at home on the Jumbotron, is really a lot of fun. 4K, Super HD, or whatever it is, all that stuff. But no lion, dog face, pony soldier, and that's because nobody can find this thing. Now, my friend Brian was watching The Twilight Zone, watching an old, the Rod Serling black and white Twilight Zone episodes. And he was watching an episode called The Purple Testament. The Purple Testament. It's a 1960, 1960, right? And it's full of great stuff. Dick Sargent from Bewitched was in there, one of the people. An Army lieutenant serving in the Philippines during World War II develops a harrowing ability to see in the faces of the men in his platoon, the men who would be the next ones to die. It's, and it's a spooky 1960 war episode, and pretty good stuff. It's always great stuff, the old black and white Twilight Zones. And one of the characters in this Twilight Zone episode from 1960, the episode The Purple Testament, said this.
This is a lousy dog-faced line officer who can see death on people's faces.
Or a dog-faced line officer who's cracking out of the strain from having done too much and felt too much and finally having to succumb to it.
See, now that we didn't edit that. That is how the two guys said it back to back. And we've come to the conclusion with Joe Biden's tiny little brain that doesn't work very well because she's a no good, that brain of his. And we're thinking maybe we finally found out where this came from. And being Joe Biden, he got it wrong. See, because why would he get it right? It's not lion, dog face, pony soldier, but it's got several of the elements.
This is a lousy dog-faced line officer who can see death on people's faces.
Lousy, dog-faced lion officer.
You're a lion, dog-faced pony soldier.
See, we're thinking that maybe my friend Brian discovered where this Joe Biden thing came from because,
Some have speculated, sir, that you are subject to some degree of cognitive decline.
You're a lion, dog, face, pony soldier. I gotta tell you, this boy is not fit to be president. We're an embarrassment to the world. We're an embarrassment to ourselves. Joe Biden is an embarrassment to bipedal mammals. He is not up to the task of being president. Everybody knows it. And the Wall Street Journal wrote this piece the other day saying that Joe Biden, talking to people inside the White House, Joe Biden has got CRS. He's got a case of CRS. Can't remember stuff. And he nods off in meetings with congressional leaders, and then he mumbles and murmurs, and he uses cue cards on 3x5 index cards, and he doesn't know what he's doing. And even the Democrats from Capitol Hill, from Congress, and from the White House are saying, you can't hear him. He mumbles. Nobody knows what he said in meetings with members of Congress. No big deal. It's just there are wars all over the world since he came in and all that. Quite remarkable. Yeah, so we think maybe we tracked down the origin, and it would make perfect sense that he just got it wrong. He heard this, and then he went to quote it back, and he naturally got it wrong. He said, wasn't that a John Wayne movie? No, it was a Twilight Zone episode. Didn't he say lion, dog face, pony soldier? No, he didn't say lion, dog face, pony soldier. He said,
or a dog-faced line officer who's cracking out of the strain from having done too much and felt too much and finally having to succumb to it.
See, it's a military episode, so it's an officer. It's a military officer, and it's that's as close as it gets. But I think we've cracked the code on that. The CIA didn't crack the code on that. They just lied to us about the Hunter Biden laptop because the CIA has been corrupted by the left and the likes of John Penitentiary Face Brennan, the Communist Party voter, the Gus Hall voter that Barack Obama mentored by Communist Party member Frank Marshall Davis, made CIA director, and then they tampered in our own elections. And my theory, my hypothesis, all along with the 51 intelligence officials and with Penitentiary Face Brennan being one of the miscreants leading the charge to deceive the American people, run what in military and intelligence circles they call an information operation against the American people to deceive the American people on the lead up to Election Day. And polls after Election Day found that if Americans had known about the Hunter Biden laptop, that their vote may have been different because big guy gets a 10% cut, and China and Ukraine and all the shell companies and people might have voted differently. But the Communist Party voter, Penitentiary Face, he launched this information operation against the American people. And actually, it was Anthony Blinken that got the ball rolling on this, and then he was given the plum slot Secretary of State in the entire Biden administration. He was with the Biden campaign at the time. He's like, hey, let's get the intelligence community to lie to the American people. And it's completely consequence-free when you're a Democrat, right? Remarkable stuff. And I'm going to get to, after the top of the hour, I'm going to get to the update bit, on the lying about the Hunter Biden laptop and all the liars that lied to us, so you'll know who to not trust ever again. That's coming up. Yeah, but Penitentiary Face Brennan, my hypothesis is that he's always hated the United States of America, being a lefty and a Communist Party voter. He's always hated the United States, and the CIA has, over the years, tampered in many elections overseas, many foreign elections, right? And I think that, remember when Jeremiah Wright, Barack Obama's spiritual guidepost, the man who presided over the marriage of Barack and Michelle Obama, what a farce, and baptized the children, the Obama children. He said that September 11th was our chickens coming home to roost. Remember that? And I think John Brennan thinks the CIA tampering in our election here in the United States is our chickens coming home to roost. It's our comeuppance that we deserve its blowback, right? Because now our CIA is run by a commie who is undermining our elections here, and that's our payback for tampering in elections, particularly during the Cold War, particularly in third world countries where the Soviets had their candidates and we didn't want the pro-Soviet candidates to win. So we would tamper in their elections through the CIA to make sure that the less bad actor won the election. And then they tampered in our election. And there are no consequences because there are commies everywhere.
America's chickens are coming home to roost.
All right, we have returned. After the top of the hour on the other side of the news, I'm going to share with you a A lot on the Hunter Biden laptop. One of the biggest lies ever told by the biggest liars in the world. And, the truth is the most important thing anywhere, just by the way. But right now, let's go to the telephones. Let's go to Mike, calling from Eddyville, Kentucky, listening on Al Gore's Amazing Internet. Mike, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Chris, hi. Thanks. I didn't expect to speak to you. I enjoy your show greatly. I only called when I was hearing Biden's continuum of the story of the dog-faced pony soldier, and I'll tell you, I don't watch much TV. I didn't watch much TV growing up. I went in the Navy, became a cryptologist and an air crew member on E-2 Charlie for quite a while. So thanks
All right.
for you. And but I'm 60 years old, and I've begun to relive my childhood through purchasing these series DVD collections. And after watching them thoroughly, and some of the modern ones, there's an episode that occurs in the middle of the Munsters, one of my favorites, where Herman Munster gets lost, and he himself finds his way to civilization, and he goes into a Marine Corps depot. And he goes in and he causes fuss because he's Herman Munster. He's,
sure,
part of the Carey Ratline family. And he comes out escorted by the Marines because the family is pulling in and they've arranged to meet him. And he says to the two escorting Marines, left and right, he says, "Oh, thank you. You are two of the nicest dog-faced pony soldiers I've ever met." Now, in Sanford and Son, as I'm getting to the end of that series, and I watched the end, about 3 episodes from the end, they hospitalized Fred Sanford because he's claimed to have seen a crime and been badgered by gangs in his L.A.
I'm running out of time on you. Real quick.
But in that episode, the police are keeping him abreast of the developments, and they are telling him that they've discovered and have mugshots from.
We ran out of time on you.